But that's what my friends and I do. You guys are my friends. All right. So, certain changes in North America residential architecture after World War II are attributed mainly to the increased availability and affordability of air conditioning. So we're saying, hey, these certain changes in North American architecture is because we now have air conditioning. So way to go, all these people. They now have affordable air. Like before, only the rich could afford it, and now it's affordable for the average Joe. Because soon after World War II, many builders found that air conditioning houses lacking the high ceilings and thick walls that traditionally kept residents cool during extreme heat generally sold well. So our only support is like, hey, these many builders, which is okay, found that air-conditioned houses, so we have air-conditioned houses that lacked high ceilings and thick walls, so we no longer have high ceilings and we no longer have thick walls. And that's why air conditioning matters, because these two things genuinely, like, I guess we used to use those things to keep us cool and during the heat. So the reason that we no longer have those things is because of air conditioning. What did you think about this? Okay, so what were your thoughts on this? What's the flaw or what's the gap?
I changed my mind. I don't go with my answer choice. But I think the flaw is like there could be another reason. Like another reason people are buying these houses other than air conditioning.
Yeah. That would be one way. Certain changes in North American. So we're saying that the changes in North American residential architecture came attributed mainly to the increased availability and affordability of air conditioning. Okay, so we're saying that another reason why people no longer have these houses doesn't have to do with air conditioning. So yeah, maybe like there's just that would work. What else were we thinking?
I was like many builders, so I was like, okay, this is just the opinion of a builder. Like,
so we could destroy the builders. The builders were trying to sell them. Yeah, if that came in, that would weaken it. If we were like, the builders that mentioned it have a company that sells these kind of houses, like opposite.
It's cheaper to make houses that have thinner walls.
Yeah, maybe after World War II, like things are so poor, people can't afford. There's no air conditioning, but there's also not being protected by the extreme heat because people are. Yeah, everything was like ruined in Germany and everything was like maybe not bombed. Like, yeah, like that's extreme. But yeah, that would truly weaken it. All right. So we have a lot of answer choices. Okay, so let's start with A. High ceilings and thick walls allow houses to withstand many types of severe weathers that are common in North America. That's irrelevant, right? Because we don't care about many types of severe weather. We're just talking about the fact that, hey, air conditioning caused these changes in houses. So we're trying to say that air conditioning did not cause these changes in houses. B, thin-walled, low-ceiling houses are more costly to heat in the winter than thick-walled, high-ceiling houses. Did anybody like B? I think B's a tempting wrong answer. Mm-hmm. Okay, so why is it wrong, Cora?
I think because we're trying to prove why high ceilings and thick walls, for me, in my mind, it was just like we were wanting the opposite. So let's go back to.
Okay, this is one where we really have to pay attention to what our conclusion is.
Yeah.
Well, it says air conditioned houses lacking the high ceilings. Mm-hmm. So that's why I liked B, because I was like, okay, so the houses that generally sold well didn't have high ceilings and thick walls.
I thought it was kind of irrelevant because we were trying to focus on air conditioning.
Yes. Okay. So all we're trying to say here is that air conditioning caused this change. We're trying to say, well, our conclusion says air conditioning caused these changes in houses. So weakening it, we're trying to say that air conditioning did not cause these changes. So B is tempting because it's saying like the opposite, that, hey, thin-walled and low ceilings are more costly to heat than these other ones. Well, that tells us why people might not want thin walls and low ceilings, but that doesn't weaken the idea that air conditioning caused those to become a thing. Do you see that, Lisa? That's where these become tricky, when because they're like in real life, which is also probably, let's go on to D for that same reason. Thin walls allow cool air conditioning air to escape more readily from houses than do thick walls. I thought this one was tempting too. Why is it wrong? Everyone's like, they're all wrong. Why is this one wrong? Victoria, do you know?
I'm still trying to like figure out why it's wrong. But yeah, I wouldn't say like I know how to explain it.
No, that's okay. All right, who knows how to explain it? Katie?
And maybe this is not a great explanation, but I just didn't know then why this made sense. So it's saying that if we're saying that air conditioning is the reason why everyone's buying all these small thin-walled houses, if that's the reason, and air conditioning's gonna float right out of the walls, those thin walls, then what was the point? But at the same time, like, it didn't weaken the argument enough for me.
Right, okay. Yeah, because I was tempted by this because I was like, well, why, if the air conditioning is leaving, are people doing this? Well, just because it's like the air is more likely to leave doesn't mean that one, it's a cheaper way of cooling, or people can't afford it, or they don't care. Like, they don't care. Like, we don't have stone wall houses anymore with our air conditioning, and I'm sure that versus certain houses, our air conditioning leaves our houses more than other houses, but we don't go back to our stone houses. So does it matter that it's leaving? No. And then E says, soon after World War II, new thermal insulating technology was widely applied in house building.
Irrelevant.
Irrelevant, yes. And then C, I do not love C at all. Process of elimination. Brittany, you got it right, and then you canceled it.
When I started questioning myself, I thought, oh, well, maybe it's E, because that's another reason why they would, they wanted those houses, not just air conditioning. Like, the air conditioning didn't cause them to want those houses. It was because their walls were better. I don't know.
I'm not understanding the stimulus. Like, especially like the second sentence, like it's just awkwardly worded. And so when I read it, I didn't say like how you mapped it out. Air conditioning means not high ceilings, not like, I didn't get that. It was just, I don't know. I don't understand that sentence at all.
Okay, so it says, so the houses that were selling well were ones that were air conditioned and did not have high ceilings and did not have thick walls.
Yeah, because those are, if you imagine a very large mansion that has 20-foot ceilings, compared to a shanty house, I'm just trying to do like relative terms of very large high ceilings versus maybe a 10-foot ceiling or a 12-foot ceiling, how your air traps. If you have more ceiling height, your actual AC and heat both alike, your energy bill is going to be actually extremely high because you're trying to cool or heat that room if it has 20-foot ceilings versus 10-foot ceilings. So that's where my mind went into how to break this one down.
Right. That's exactly what I did, but I picked the wrong answer. I picked B.
So then with C, how I got to it was proving that houses that were already built this way, that were already there, people, I mean, basically it was giving a reason, like it was getting rid of the reason why people were saying it was the AC. Why it was the AC people.
We had these houses before AC was affordable. So
yeah.
Therefore, the AC did not cause people to want these houses. People already wanted them before it.
Right. Probably because of the low ceilings were keeping their houses cool versus these people with mega millions buying these large mansions.
Or electricity. Maybe electricity caused it. Who knows?
So for this one, is it the reasoning that was weakened to get to C versus actually weakening the conclusion itself?
No, I think it weakens the conclusion itself because it's saying that these change, like air conditioning isn't what caused these changes. Because our conclusion is just that like and it's mainly too, so it's saying that the changes in our houses is because of air conditioning. Well, if we have these types of if these houses were popular before there was air conditioning, how can air conditioning be what caused it?
Right, so we're knocking out the fact that it was because of the air conditioning. Because if the nurse goes on to say that it was because of the air conditioning that they did this, but it's actually a different reason.
I mean, I don't know. Like, we just know that it wasn't the air conditioning because they were popular before there was air conditioning.
That's
Okay.
the thing I just didn't like about C and why I was so mad and like didn't like it, because I feel like they associated being like this type of house being prevalent with it being like selling well. And that's what made me eliminate it at first. But I just think the other ones aren't relevant enough to.
But it says that it's, but our conclusion is saying that the changes were caused by the air conditioning. So I would say like being prevalent means that like the changes were already made. Well, I don't think it's weakening selling well. I think it's weakening certain changes.
Yeah.
I wish they wouldn't have used architecture, because I'm not connecting the two sentences together. Like I feel like it would have been better if they would have said certain changes in the real estate market.
Yeah.
I literally I have no idea how to connect these two, and I would have never in a million years been like, well, because of air conditioning. I don't know. It's just so.
I think architecture is what makes the sentence makes C right. Because if it was just talking about the real estate market, then I think it requires them to say that they sold well, as opposed to houses with low ceilings. Like they were already built pre-air conditioning. So there was already like a need for them. I think if they just did real estate market, then it would have negated the value of C.
Woo, Katie.
She's awesome.
What
I
is
just hate you so much that I really needed to make myself give a TED talk to myself of why it made sense.
I love it.
I was perfect because I figured I would have to defend it because I hated it so much.
Because I didn't like it either. It was one where I got down to, what did I narrow it down? I got down to C and D personally, and I reread the conclusion, and that's how I got to C over D. Because I'm trying to weaken that it did not cause like Katie said, architecture changes. Not necessarily that these houses like weren't air conditioned, or like there wasn't like something like that. How do we all feel about that?